I'm not sure how your 61 is. Have you tasted that?
I haven't. I have seen some in the cellar, but I haven't.
You never tried it?
No, no.
Wow.
Well, when I no, I never. Maybe I had some when I was really young, but I can't remember. But no, since I am running this place, I never opened the 61.
Wow.
We can open that together.
We should, but
yes.
How on earth have you been able to walk past the 61 for more than 30 years without opening one?
Well, I am like the squirrels, you know. I keep.
I'm the opposite. I'm like the one that finds the squirrel's nests.
Oh, is this I must be careful because there is a nest here. 2 hours later.
It's either 55 or 53. And since it's in a box marked 53, I'm saying it's a 53.
Yeah, because in the box. We are talking about the great vintages of the 50s. I found these 3 bottles. Some of them, they don't have any labels. Some labels are a bit low. But we'll discover these vintages, see how they have aged.
When you come to Laroze, you have this really interesting thing because you're more or less halfway between Saint-Émilion and Pomerol. Figeac and Cheval Blanc is not really that far away. Angelus is not that far away. And the Plateau is not that far away. And you're sort of in between here. And you have that very gentle sloping area, which seems to be really, really favorable for Cabernet Franc. And I think this is one of the reasons why we have that super nice elegance, which we do have in Château Laroze. The owner of Château Laroze, Guy Meslin, this gentleness to both the man and the wine, which is absolutely, utterly charming.
When we want to decide when to pick, the best way to do it is to go through the vines and to chew the berries. When the skin is tender, it means that the color which is in the skin will go very much more easily into the juice. And then we can chew the pips as well. When the pips are not very well matured, the tannins are astringent. And when they are matured, then the tannins of the pips, they are more like almond, hazelnuts, things like that. Then we have a system when we pick the grapes to separate these damaged berries from these ones, which are the good ones we want to keep to produce the wine. So all this is very important. The quality of the berry will make the quality of the wine.
Is this like a price list from 1901?
Yes, it is. Laroze was sold a higher price than Cheval Blanc.
Fascinating. So here we have Cheval Blanc, Pape Clément, Bourgard, Rosa Segla, and then Laroze. But also we have Aubryon seems to be very expensive compared to Château Laroze and Margaux. Maybe 1895 was a brilliant vintage and 1888 wasn't, I don't know. And the grape varieties, Tresac, which would be Malbec today, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Cabernet, and Boucher, which is the local Cabernet Franc name. So your family used to have parts of or own what is today Angelus?
When my great-grandfather died, he died in a car crash going to the ocean to Royan, and he had 4 daughters, amongst my grandmother. He had 5 different vineyards amongst Mazra, and when he died, all the patrimony of the family was splitted between the 4 daughters. And my grandmother, she kept Laroze and other things, but she couldn't keep Laroze and Mazra because she had to share. What is funny is that Laroze is exactly on the same level line than Angelus, 45 meters. If you take this line, the line crosses the chateau here and crosses the chateau at Angelus as well. So it's quite funny. So it's always at this foot of the slope of the plateau of Saint-Émilion, a little bit further.
So why did you think that your grandmother wanted to sell her part in what is today known as Angelus and move here?
I know the reputation of Angelus, the wines from which was called Clos Mazra, which was the name of their vines before it was called Angelus. For one reason is that there is a little bit more clay over there, so the wines are a bit more larger, and here we are more on the elegancy and not so large. Okay. I think it was difficult for her to make this choice, but she was really loving this place here because the house here was a family house which was built in 1882. So I think she was really attached to this place with the design of the park here. With Clos Mazra, there were only vines and a few small houses. See, nothing great to live. And at this period, it was important for a family to also to have a place to show a place where they live with a large garden and so on, so a chateau and so on. So this is the last vintage of my grandmother, because then this is the writing of my mother here. So my mother started in 58. But for me, to read this is, takes me here.
Yeah. Collection of all your special.
Well, these are just the different wines. I don't know where to put them. So I put everything here. It's all mixed from different origins. I think this is my oldest bottle of Laroze. So this is my grandfather, Dr. Meslin. A vintage that my father loved really was 1964. He really loved this vintage, and when I was young and it was great vintage, he bought different wines from 64. So we could open one bottle of this, why not?
It would be fantastic. Very interesting. Wow.
Well, the level is quite good. With this vintage, 1964, we had this for lunch. Maybe I was 12. I listened about elegancy in the wine with this vintage. I was not able to appreciate or to taste really, to appreciate the taste. But what I heard that good wine was always elegant and well balanced, and so because it was the style of this period of time, people liked these wines before Monsieur Parker arrived.
No comments?
1990 is my first vintage as the manager of the place. I started to work here in 86 full time, and 1990 was when my father gave me the keys. not very, very long ago. I was a bit disappointed when I tasted it, but we'll see. Because from one bottle to another one, it can be different.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is very old collection, very valuable books. I have one book like this in the tasting room, and so when the people come to visit, sometimes they ask me, "But why did you put a book of Jules Verne in your show sur la vitrine with the bottles of wine?" And I say because I appreciate this man who was very respectful for the tradition, but also he was kind of pioneer of his time. I think that when someone arrives and want to taste our wines or any wine, a new wine, it is important to put oneself in the position of someone who travels, who is going to discover a new country, new place, he doesn't know about it. It is a kind of a conscious to relax inside oneself, to be ready to accept something which might be different, which maybe we are going to like or not, but to forget about any presupposed ideas. See, so I like this idea of extraordinary travel, and if the wine is really nice, very gives a lot of pleasure, this travel can be extraordinary or not.
Yeah, I'm actually already feeling it's getting slightly more floral.
Exactly.
Something is happening here.
It's more complex.
Yeah.
It's coming. We used to open a good bottle of wine every Sunday to have a good meal in the dining room at the chateau. They always loved this vintage because of the elegancy, the finesse, the harmony of the wine. And I am surprised because I haven't tasted this wine for decades.
Wow, for decades?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm surprised to take so much pleasure to to taste it, you see. And it is cellared in good conditions here since 94. So between 66 and 94, the conditions of aging were not so good.
So 20 years in not the best conditions, and then, wow.
Oui.
It just keeps on giving a little bit more all the time. I think your father is looking down on you and thinking, my favorite needs to shine, and it's shining.
I think he's there. Let me go to see if I get some 61. Might be in Magnum. So the plateau of Saint-Émilion is clear limestone, which is a soil which is quite cool because the clay keeps the water. And at the bottom of the slope here, we have more sandy soil, which is more richer in silica. And so the silica is much warmer, and it's a great place for Cabernet Franc because here, because the Cabernet Franc needs more heat to have a good maturity every year. On a cooler soil, the Cabernet Franc would give structure, but also something tight, firm. But here, the Cabernet Franc brings the structure, but is elegant. And when it is elegant, it's also aromatically elegant as well. So as you can see here in this vine, where the rows are very narrow, only 1 meter between each vine, which is very different from the vines which are on the other side that my father planted, which are 1.8 meters wide, with 5,600 plants per hectare here. And in the narrow one, here is 10,000 plants per hectare. The technique of sorting the grapes really changed. One of the vine growers here in this area was developing a machine to sort out not the grapes, but the berries within the grapes. The idea is to separate the berries depending on their shape. the round berries, the berries which are not round, and the berries which are mashed. We start with the idea that the best berry to produce the best wine is the berry which is round, because the skin of the berry is perfectly intact. And because of this integrity, with these berries we have the higher intensity of aromas and the best purity of aromas. When I was younger, in the 90s, in the cellars for aging wine, there were only barrels, same volume, same cooper. So the wine was very not monolithic, but quite standardized. So the idea is to age the wine in really different volumes and materials, because each one of them will bring a certain palette of aromas and taste, which will be a facet. Each one will bring a different facet. I practiced biodynamic from 91 to 98 during 7 years, and I was number 3 in Saint-Émilion to practice biodynamic. I was among the pioneers in Saint-Émilion. After 7 years, I stopped because I was doing some mistakes, because at this time there was only copper sulfate in biodynamic to fight mildew, and here where we are, it's place very sensitive to the mildew. But I really loved these 7 years, because I learned a lot with the biodynamic, and I learned how to look at the vines and to understand how it was working. Because of this experience, I didn't feel good in the rules of production. So I thought of, am I going to go to organic agriculture? And I said no, because I don't want to follow rules which are decided by others who are not living here. And in all these systems of cahier des charges, rules of productions, people don't look at the result. They only look at the means of production. I give myself a goal. This goal is to produce wine with no residues of pesticides. For me, this is a free agriculture, but a responsible agriculture. And this, I like that, because then I am the manager of the boat. I took over my father in 90, and in 2004, I decided to really change the label to mark a real difference between the new period from the past.
Saint-Émilion is a very popular tourist attraction and an absolutely beautiful small village. But how is it to actually have it next door? How is that to have that as your local village?
In 1999, Saint-Émilion has been the first vineyard to be elected at the UNESCO Heritage Patrimony for the quality of the landscape. And with this nomination, the tourism went up. Normally it's about 20% more. And then from then we had worldwide tourism which really developed in Saint-Émilion, with just too many people during the season. It's a little bit like Mont Saint-Michel or Carcassonne. There are two different populations in Saint-Émilion, inside the village, outside the village. And we don't have the same problems. The elegancy of the tannins makes our wines very accessible, even when they are young. But because the amount of Cabernet Franc in the wine, which is 30% plus 10% Cabernet Sauvignon, these two grape varieties, they really express the best of themselves with the age in the bottle. And when we arrive at 7-8 years old, the wine really takes another dimension with the tannins, which become more silky and more expression. You know, it's the oldest one. I never opened them. In fact, very very unusual for some specific occasion.
J'ai 67, 66, 69. Voici 61. C'est là, 61.
It's just getting better and better. Yeah, it's starting to have these cigar and tobacco notes now with this really lovely sweet tobacco.
Incroyable. I think it's 67.
Yes, 67.
There's a label with 61.
So it's almost like an old Burgundy. Very red fruits.
There's more nose than 64.
It is gentle wild strawberries, sort of, and rose hips. If I got it blind, I would be in Burgundy late 70s, I think.
Ah oui.
Yeah, I would not guess that this red fruity thing would be from Bordeaux.
Ah oui.
Yeah.
Tiens, c'est marrant.
It's interesting.
Ouais.
And the tannin structure I would probably be with in Pommard or Courtauld somewhere.
I will look for the 61 one day, and if I find it, I will keep it for you. But we could press a little bit more, see if I squeeze. We give it to the distillery, and they take the alcohol which is still in there. They put this into big vats, they water it, and to extract the alcohol from the pips and the skins, and then they distill the water and they get the alcohol out of it. And then they use this alcohol for cosmetic or industrial uses. So it's mandatory for us to give it to the distillery. We cannot distill ourselves. We are not allowed to produce any alcohol. We are allowed to produce wine. We are talking about the great vintages of the 50s, also about 61. I found these 3 bottles. Some of them, they don't have any labels.
61? This 59 and 53, was it?
Eh ben,
Oh, wow.
bah ouais, c'est pas mal ça. 61.
61, yeah. So this is your first 1961.
Yes, I think so.
Oh, nice color. That's a lot of tobacco. And it's quite intense. And you have some mint.
Complexity, some mint.
Figs and dates and these dried fruits. Yeah, this one is not shy. The other ones were a bit shy, but this one is not shy.
64, 67, 90.
Ah,
C'est la première fois.
superbe.
It's just super harmonious on the palate.
Yeah, and more full-bodied.
Yeah, it's definitely more body. It's which is not surprising. Definitely more concentration. And I think this must be a bottle which is in absolutely top form.
I'm surprised because of the condition of keeping, how good they are. So I can imagine if the conditions of keeping had been good. C'est
Plus
intéressant.
intense que 64.
Oui.
Yeah, we've just read her handwritten texts, and then we're having a wine from that time.
It's like if she was there,
Yeah.
but she's there.
Wow,
She's looking at us.
she is. Wow. It's so rare to be able to try a 59 and a 61 side by side from, well, any producer, but especially the same ones. If that 59 is just half as good as this 61, it will be impressive duo. This 61 is gorgeous. Again, beautiful color. Clear, bright. It's showing that baked, little bit warm fruit of the vintage, which is really interesting. Wow.
It was the biggest
When we read through the documents of harvest conditions in 58, the ripeness condition, what they were serving the pickers, how worried they were about the maturity. 58 was not a great vintage and wasn't really helped by coming 2 years after the big frost, which made a lot of replanting. And then we're actually tasting the next vintage the year after. His grandmother had written the old wines, meaning Château Laroze had not lost all their varieties. Some estates in Bordeaux lost everything. After the frost in 56, all that summer you would be waiting to look if you got some buds. You would probably not take out any plants in 56. That meant that in 57 you probably took out plants, which obviously were dead. Meaning that in 59 you would only have the old wines or the ones who had survived. That's probably why you have that incredible, fascinating concentration in that 59. Much more prunes and plums, where this is so much tobacco, and this has that really, really ripe fruit. You can feel it was a warmer summer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very complete.
It's incredible.
Right.
Wow. It's like it's sweeter. Everything is sweeter with this wine.
I cannot spit.
I've stopped spitting as well. You've tried 59 before?
No. Yes.
Yes, but that's a long time ago.
Oh, yes, in the 90s. And I remember when I tried it, I thought this wine is past.
Could be, that must have been just that bottle.
Right.
Or the bottles.
Right.
Because this is definitely not past. And you haven't tried 61 before.
No.
Oh.
No, first time.
And both of them are absolutely singing today. Together with the 64 and the 67, but these two are on a different level. These two are brilliant. They are wonderful. I'm really happy to be sharing this moment with you. This is
You are
incredible.
doing my education. C'est marrant parce que 59, c'est meilleur que 64 que
Mais c'est
61.
vrai.
Oui,
Je m'attendais pas à ça.
c'est étonnant. Hein.
Une telle fraîcheur.
Ouais.
Puis c'est intense. Ça a encore du.
C'est incroyable. Hein.
Bah, c'est incroyable.
C'est que dalle, hein.
Oui, oui. Je m'attendais pas du tout à ça.
It's so interesting how the 59 is playing on all this very ripe fruit, while the 61 is playing on a completely different sort of tobacco. It's more about complexity and refinement of complexity, and the 59 is just about all these really ripe fruits, which is just super incredible to have side by side.
They were not very clean at this time, huh?
Baron Erik de Rothschild of Lafitte
Yes.
once said to me that if he was staying alone at Château Lafitte, his favorite vintage to drink was the 1953.
Ah oui.
So not to have any pressure.
Oui. The level is here.
Yeah, which is on the top of the figure. Another beautiful color.
2008, 2018. C'est pas mal aussi, hein. C'est pas mal aussi, hein. It's quite nice.
You have a very nice nose.
Ah, mais c'est différent. Hein.
Quite lively on the palate.
Ouais. Oui, mais ça lui donne un côté vivant.
Ah oui.
Je sais pas la grenade, s'il te plaît.
Something which is jammy, but jam out of dried fruits,
Ah oui, c'est ça, oui.
which is interesting,
Oui.
which is rare. But you also have a slight minty touch,
Ouais.
which lifts all, because it's a little bit heavy downstairs.
Ouais, c'est
And
vrai.
then you have that slightly minty
Ouais.
thing which is lifting it, which is really
Incroyable
fascinating.
comme il goûte, Christophe. C'est incroyable comme il goûte. Il dit que l'acidité lui donne cette fraîcheur-là. Il dit que c'est un vin sur lequel il y a quand même il est un peu plus lourd que les autres, mais justement cette acidité va le remonter un petit peu.
If your maximum budget is 50 euros per bottle, could you really do a super interesting wine cellar? And here we're sitting tasting absolutely gorgeous stuff. There's just one wine outshines the other one.
And globally, within the Grand Cru class of Saint-Émilion, this is our range of price. It's below 50.
Yeah. And there's so many nice wines to choose from.